This is number 5 on the practice exam. So we've got, let's see, Discover's advertising 5% cashback bonuses on all groceries. So 5% on grocery stuff. And then also a 1% cashback on other things that aren't grocery or restaurant. All right. Imagine that you typically spend $2,000 in a month. Of the $2,000, a quarter is for grocery and restaurant. All right, so if I just break down that $2,000, then a quarter of that is for grocery and restaurant. I'm just going to call it grocery. So I got to figure out what is a quarter of 2,000. Half of the 2,000 would be 1,000. Half of that would be, I think it's 500. Double check on a calculator. 1/4 times 2,000 is 500. Yeah, got it right. So of the 2,000, 500 goes toward grocery and restaurant stuff, and then the remaining balance, that would be the 2,000 minus the 500. That would be $1,500. That right there is for other stuff. So we want to use this information to calculate our cash back, and our cash back said for groceries, we're going to use 5%. And for the other stuff, we're going to use 1%. And then we want to add these up after. So I need to figure out what is 5% of 500, what is 1% of 1,500, and add them up. And I can go do that on my calculator now. So on my calculator, I'm going to start with the 500 and multiply that by 5%, which is just 5 over 100. And why not add now? I want to add that to the remaining 1,500, and that one is times 1%, which is 1 out of 100. So I'm calculating, if I have all my numbers right, that would be $40 that we would make here. And again, advice for the test, be sure to write down what you're doing before you hit the calculator. So here I wrote down my calculation, and according to my calculator, that is equal to $40 for the cashback. And hopefully one of my choices is $40 on that problem. Yeah, bingo, $40. So let's see, people living in the United States are required to pay income tax. The amount that Americans are required to pay will vary. For example, Americans earning between $34,500 and $83,600 fall into the 25% tax bracket. So that means they pay $4,750 plus 25% on the income over 43,500 in taxes. All right. So we imagine that you earn 60,000. Now note the 60,000 falls in between these two numbers up there. Okay, so that means we're going to try and follow these directions down here to make that calculation. So that calculation says you have to pay $4,750. So for sure, I'm going to pay this much, $4,750. Plus, I'm going to pay 25% on the income over $34,500. So before I can do the 25%, I'm going to have to calculate how much over 34,500 I am, which means I'm going to take the 60,000, subtract the 34,500. Then I can multiply that by 25%, and then I can add this 4,750. And let's see, they happen to have a formula here that exactly matches what I wrote, except 0.25 versus 25%. Right, those are the same, right? Because 25% means 25 over 100, which is 0.25. So they just wrote it a slightly different way. So for me, that is the correct answer. This is wrong. It's not directly based on the 60,000. that skips the 4,750. This one didn't completely follow the directions. And this one has the subtraction in the wrong order. So that's wrong too. Now you got to have the parentheses because you want to find the income over that first and then apply the 25%. So you've got to have the parentheses there. So that is the correct answer for how to calculate this.
So you would multiply that 25% after you find.
After we do the subtraction. Yeah. Yeah. So again, because they want the income over to be based on the 25%, we got to first subtract, then multiply, then I can add whatever's left. Yeah. So just to see what the value looks like on a calculator, I can type it as I see it, 4,750 plus 0.25, 25% is a decimal, times parentheses, 60,123 minus 34500. So this person would have to pay $11,125 in tax for the year. And every other version of the formula they have here will not give the same number. That's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. And that has wrong order of operations. Because that's taking 25% of 60,000 and then after subtracting 34,000, which is really way messed up. That's going to give like negative taxes. Probably.
Finance, the IRS is huge.
Yeah, and that can't happen. Like if you overestimate your dependence on your, what's that, the W-9, sometimes more taxes get taken out than should be and you get money back. But that never happens to me. I always have to pay more. All right, let's try another. All right, university officials at Penn State have announced that there will be a 6% increase in tuition for fall 2011. Tuition at Penn State's main campus was $7,500 in 2010. Which of the following statements gives the most exact description of the new tuition? Let's see. The tuition will cost $7,950 in 2011. Haven't calculated that. Tuition is high. That's a stupid statement. Tuition will go up by roughly $400. Maybe tuition will increase. That's lame. Tuition will be less than 8,000. That's lame too. Let's do a calculation and then decide. And remember, when you do a calculation, write it on paper first. So what are we going to calculate here? A couple ways to do this. I mentioned before that whenever we have an increase, that's adding on, right, to 100%. So what I really want to do is take 106% and multiply that by the 7,500, and that will give me the new tuition. Okay. So I'll demonstrate both versions of this calculation. I think that's the best way to do it. So 106 divided by 100 is 106%.
So I forgot all my scratch paper and everything in here, so I failed, but there we go.
Hang on a second. All right, so we're going to the end now, and we're going to work backwards. So this is the last question on the practice.
We are allowed to do this with you, right? And then answer.
Yeah.
That's what I've been
On the
doing.
practice?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure.
Totally. Now we can't do this for the real test though. That would, because I'm another human. That's against the rules. All right, so Lisa ran 7 miles in 42 minutes during a marathon workout. Her running rate in miles per minute is, okay, so here they're telling me to take the miles, divide by the minutes. So I'm just going to write down what I'm going to do first. I want to take 7 miles. Oops. Oh, there's a pen. And divide by 42 minutes. And my recollection is 7 goes into 42 6 times, but that's one possible answer, or I could just whip it out on a calculator. 7 over 42. So the decimal version is 0.1666666. Eventually we'll round to a 7. Or I love Desmos, the fraction version is just 1/6. So we have a couple of options. Before I hit the thing, then I'm just going to continue working on this problem. What is a running rate in minutes per mile? So we just want to flip it. So for the next part, we want to take the minutes in the top, 42 minutes, and divide by the 7 miles. And the computer was already telling me 7 goes into 42 6 times, so I could say it is 6 minutes per mile. Whereas this one up here, I could either call it 1/6 miles per minute, or I could say it's about like 0.17 or 167, depending on how you decided to round it. All right, just double check here. Very good. Decimal version. So pretty much anywhere you decide to round, you're going to end up with a 7 and there's the last digit. Double check the other calculation just to be sure. 42 divided by 7 is just 6. All right. Now keep in mind when you click on these boxes, they're going to like give you some tips, and this one's saying, hey, feel free to enter a fraction. Cool. I'm going to enter the fraction so I don't have to round. 1/6. And then here it would be just 6 for my version. Not bad. Did you have the same numbers?
Yeah, 1/6 and then just 6.
See.
You have two numbers, 5 and 50.
Oh,
Yeah, so just redo yours with on your calculator, 5 over 50 and then 50 over 5.
okay. I didn't realize it was different.
Yeah, some of them are different, some of them are the same. Yeah, so you may have a different set of numbers. So if I go to get a similar question, now I have 4 out of 28. So mine's a little bit different. So like for my first one here, 4 miles out of 28 minutes is going to give me 0.14 blah, 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 or 1/7. So these are set up, looks like to have nice numbers.
So I would just do the same thing as we did, but instead of. the
Yeah, so
6,
yours would be 5 over 50 instead of the numbers I have. Yeah. So here I could do 1/7. Yours looks like it's going to be 1/10 on your calculator.
Why did he say number 11? On an example, not 10.
Uh-oh. Did I accidentally put more than 10 questions on the exam?
Dun, dun,
So
dun.
there's 11?
There's 14.
Yeah.
I meant it to be shorter. How's it going?
It's a question I can't answer.
Oh,
So, like, putting a circle on that one, and like I've submitted it.
it's waiting for me to create it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I will do later, I promise.
Was that sarcastic, accidentally?
Hmm?
Or was that a sarcastic accidentally or?
No, it wasn't. When I write an exam, it always starts big and then I whittle it down. And apparently I had one more day of whittling questions down. And I forgot. So the exam's slightly longer than I wanted it to be.
Oh.
But since people have already taken it, I can't shorten it.
Yeah.
So my apologies.
Dun,
I'll extend the
dun,
time then. Okay, so let's see, Bob and Carol want to hire, able, refinishing. All right, let's do this one. So we want to find area and we want to find cost. Add to page, please. Let's go recording, just go with it. All right, so again, you may have slightly different numbers on yours, so pay attention to that.
Like me.
I've got Able is going to charge $289 per square foot to sand and refinish the hardwood floor. That's a good deal. The dining room is rectangular and measures 17 feet 8 inches by 11 feet 8 inches. And again, yours may be slightly different. So I'm just going to roughly draw that. So let's just say that right there is going to be my 17.8. And then this here is going to be my 11.8. And what's jumping out to me as a concern is in Abel's charging, he charges by the square foot, but we have some measurements in inches, so we got to make everything into feet, right? And so just remember there are 12 inches in a foot. So if I want to convert 8 inches to feet, inches go on the bottom, feet go on the top, 1 foot is 12 inches. This just tells me I'm going to divide by 12 to convert. So for this here, this is really 17 and 8/12 feet by 11 and 8/12 feet. And let's see, do 8/12 work out nice on a calculator? Don't think so. 8/12, 0.666666. Okay, so we can either use some rounded numbers or we can use the fractional numbers. Unfortunately, doing math with mixed numbers is kind of a pain. So I think I'm going to do the decimal version. So I could also call this, for example, 17.67 if I round to the nearest hundredth of a foot. And the other measurement I could call 11.67 according to the calculator. And the area is just the product of those two. So area is length times width, which means take my 17.67, multiply it by my 11.67, and that's going to give me square feet, because I'm taking feet times feet. But if you don't have exactly the same numbers, then go to your calculator, plug in your numbers. I'm going to go plug in mine. So I have 17.67-ish times 11.67. And that gives me 206 points. I'm going to go to the nearest hundredth again. So 0.21 for mine, 206.21. So that's about, on my version, it's 206.21 square feet. So that's what I would enter for my area. And it doesn't mention rounding there. Sometimes when you click on a box, it might say something about rounding, enter an integer or a decimal. It doesn't mention rounding, so hopefully my rounding is good. If not, you're giving me your work so I can see what you did. The computer doesn't like it, so don't sweat it too much. All right, next thing I want to do is figure out the cost, which isn't going to be too bad here because Abel gave his charges here per square foot. So that's just a straight multiple. So the cost is going to be that 206.21 square feet times he's charging 289 per square foot. So in this multiplication, the square feet goes away, leaving just money. So all we have to do is multiply by 2.89. So on my version, I've got 206.21 times 269 on mine. 289. Oops. 89. Write it correctly in my notes. 289. I did. Good. Always double check. Did you write the right numbers down? Did you type the right numbers in? All right, so cost for mine is $595.95 to the nearest cents. That's what I would enter into my box. All right, let's see how the computer likes my rounding. 206.21, 595.95. Oh, what? It doesn't like my rounding. Damn.
Would you still take it? If I just click the add, like on the computer to hit answer, which gives all the decimal places and multiply that by 289.
Yeah, that would, yeah, so I could, so to fix it, it looks like it doesn't like my rounding. So to improve that, I could put some more decimals in here, like more sixes. I'm curious, what would that be? 206.12. Let's see if it likes that one. Nope, doesn't like that one either. I'm only getting one more try, then I gotta get a new one. That's gotta be enough decimal places. 11. Oh, I should change this one too before I submit it again. 66. All right, let's see. Ah, what? Rounded to 207. Oh, come on. Message my instructor on this. That's not right.
Message yourself. Not right.
Almost put an exclamation point, but that might look like I'm yelling at my teacher. Not a good idea. Thanks for your consideration. Always be nice. Hey,
Some of these I didn't get any credit for.